Kia ora everyone, welcome to this Tōtakai Karate video where we're going to talk about the rules for Kumite competition. So today I want to cover the layout of Kumite events, we want to talk about the points we can score in tournament, the penalties we need to avoid, and then finally how we know who wins and loses the match. So in a Kumite tournament you're going to see we fight on an 8x8 ring. One player will be in blue, one in red. We'll see 4 judges in the corners of the map and a referee in the centre, plus 2 coaches behind the 2 players. The judges in the corner are looking for points and they're going to be holding their flags. They can signal for 1, 2 or 3 points, and if 2 flags between the judges go for the same competitor, that point will score. The referee is controlling the match, stopping and starting as they need to, and also mainly looking for penalties. Also to note, if 2 flags for both competitors come out, so 2 blue, 2 red, the referee will score both of these techniques. If 2 flags for the same player come out but different values, so one referee gives a point for 1, the other for 3, the higher one is going to score. Now in New Zealand we have a few less referees, and so sometimes we operate the 2 flag system. In that you're going to see 2 judges in the corner and 1 referee. Now the referee has the powers the same as the judge, so they can indicate for points. A point will score if either the 2 judges or the referee and 1 judge both signal for a point. If the 2 judges signal for opposite points, then the referee is going to score both of them unless they also signal for 1. In that case, 2 beats 1, just the 1 point will score. So the next thing to cover is points and how we can score them. So if we look at the scoreboard here, you'll see a few things. Firstly, you'll see aka and ao, which stands for red and blue. You're going to see the points and also the dot next to that, which is senchu. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. Beneath that, you're going to see the penalties for each player. And finally, in the middle, you can see the time. So to score a point in karate, we need to have an effective strike to either the body, including the back and the side, or to the head, including the face, neck, and throat. We can take 1 point from either a punch to the body or to the head.
Oh, magnifique. Là, c'est pas là, c'est dans son.
We can take 2 points for a kick to the body, back or side. And finally, we can take 3 points for a kick to the head. Or for a strike on an opponent that has either been swept to the ground or fallen over. Important to note that in the new rules, a fallen opponent is defined as the player having anything but their feet touching the ground. So what's really important that we also understand is the scoring criteria. And this is basically what are the judges looking for in order to award a point. So the first ones are good distance and good timing. Basically means that the technique is on the target and at a distance that would be an effective strike. Secondly, we're looking for good form. So this means that it needs to be proper karate technique, and that includes a proper pullback. Next up, vigorous application, which basically means that the technique is fast and it's powerful. After that, we also need to have good zanshin. Zanshin means awareness, so it's basically good focus before, during, and after the technique. Finally, the last one is good sporting attitude. So at the end of the day, this is karate and we expect to see respect. So basically meaning that there's no malicious intent behind our techniques. Last thing to cover when it comes to points is senchu. Now senchu is an advantage that's awarded to the player who scores the first unopposed points. So if both players score a point at the start, there's no senchu given. If the fight ends in a draw, so it's 2-2, whichever player has senchu is going to win that match. We do need to note though, senchu can be lost through penalties, which is what we're going to cover next. So guys, there are 16 penalties in Kumite. A massive change to the rules this year. There used to be 2 categories of penalty, but now it's been merged into just 1 line of penalties. And if we get 5 disqualified, you're out. So the first instance of a penalty, referee will call yame, stop the fight, and they will award what we call chui. Chui basically means warning. Next one will be chui, 2 fingers, and then chui 3. Fourth one is hansoku chui. So hansoku means disqualification. Hansoku chui, disqualification, warning. And then final penalty will be hansoku, disqualified, you're out, you've lost. Now any serious infractions or serious penalties, the referee can go immediately to hansoku chui or even hansoku if it's that bad. So firstly, I want to cover some of the common penalties in karate. First one, especially in the kids, is excessive contact. So for under 14s, you're allowed no contact to the head. So any punches or kicks that make contact, you will be awarded churi. Next one is mabobi, which basically means self-endangerment. So if there is contact, but the other player has had no regard for their safety, hands are down, running in, they will be the one that's penalised. So you can't give mabobi and excessive contact, the referee needs to decide which one it is. Next common penalty is jogai, which is basically just for stepping out of the ring. Last common one is passivity. So passivity is given for if the players are not fighting, so for inactivity. Before giving this penalty, the referee will say suzukete, which basically means engage, but if there's still no fighting, the referee stops the match and gives both players penalty. Unless, if one player is winning, then only the losing player gets passivity. So basically there's their responsibility to engage and keep the match fighting. Next few penalties I want to cover are all of our grabbing penalties. There's a lot of things we can't do in this clinch position in karate. So the first one is seizing up, standing chest to chest, kind of not looking for a point, or even pushing. Okay, can't have any of that. Second one is grabbing with two hands. So you can never grab with two hands unless, if we catch a kick, we can then sweep with the other hand, try to score a takedown. Next one is, so we can grab with one hand and we can look for punches, look for kicks. You can get away with one, maybe two techniques. But if we're just throwing continuous techniques while we're grabbing, that will be penalised. So when the players get into this clinch position, before penalising, the referee can call a wakarete, which means separate. The referee will wait for them to get to a distance position, and then they'll call suzukete, which means basically engage. However, if one of the players, after wakarete, they throw a technique, and it's before the referee has instructed suzukete, that is a penalty because we're not listening to the referee's instructions. So finally, some of the less common penalties that we see in karate includes uncontrolled techniques. So this is if we're just kind of swinging and throwing past the head, no regard for the opponent's safety. Exaggerating, so if one of the players gets touched and they make a big deal out of it, something we definitely don't want to see in karate, that is a penalty. Next one, attacking the legs or the joints, especially with kicks, so kicking the butt, kicking the legs, that's a penalty. Next one is goading, which is basically talking to the referee or to the opponent, okay, just losing a little bit of that respect. After that, dangerous throws, so that is when we do a throw technique where we're lifting the player over our hips or trying any sacrifice throws. Those are techniques that are not allowed in karate. Last two things I've never actually seen awarded in karate is open hand techniques to the face, which is the same in all martial arts, just to protect the eyes. And finally, simulating attacks with the knees, elbows, and head. Now the final penalty in karate is avoiding combat. This can be awarded at any time if one of the players is running around the match, purposely not engaging. However, what's very important, in the last 15 seconds, if one of the players is running away, if they step out, or if they're purposely kind of grabbing and seizing, stopping the other player from scoring, they will go immediately to Hansukuchui, and if that player has senchu, it will be taken away. So it's very, very important. A lot of matches can be won or lost in that last 15 seconds. So we really need to understand what we can and also what we cannot do in that last 15 to make sure we win the match. So the last thing to cover is how to win a match. So at the end of the time, whichever fighter has the most amount of points, they're going to win the fight. If at any time during that match, one player gets a lead of 8 points, they'll immediately win the match. If the fight ends in a draw, then the player that has that senchu advantage is going to win the fight. Now, if that player has lost the senchu, we go to next what we call ippon advantage. So the player that has scored the most 3-pointers, the most ippons, is going to win the fight. If that's also even, we go to whoever has scored the most wazaris, or 2-pointers. And if that's also even, so it's a complete draw, we go to what we call hante. Hante is where the referees and the judges decide on who they think was the better fighter. Finally, the last way to win is if the other player gets disqualified. So thank you everyone for watching this video. I know there's a lot of rules when it comes to Kumite, but just like any sport, if you want the best chance of winning, you've got to know how to play the game. So please make sure you study all of the rules, and then good luck at your next tournament.